Good morning. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. You know what that means. The Saturday Morning Hustle Podcast. Outworking the competition while they still sleep. And today we're going to talk about competition. Competition is not your enemy. Competition is your friend. That is right. Competition is good. You might be thinking to yourself, wait, the less competition I have, the more likely I can be successful, the more likely I can reach my goals, the more likely I can spread the wealth of what it is I'm trying to do, receive the returns at a higher rate. And it's just not true. The last thing you want to do is have zero competition, because then there's zero motivation to actually be your best, do the best for your audience, to provide the best continual growth, etc. Competition pushes you forward. Competition makes you better, and competition makes you sustainable with everything that you've built, not simply inherited, because there's no other option. So I'm going to go through the details of why competition is good. Now, I'm a big get in the ring and fight kind of guy. I like the idea of competing head to head with people. Of, if you want to get in the arena with me, we could compete, we can go at it. I like it. Some people do not like competition. They do not like confrontation. They do not like the idea of resistance or the idea that someone else is taking from them. But that's not what's happening with competition. They're not taking anything from you that you probably didn't deserve. And I don't mean that in a negative way, like you haven't worked hard enough. What I mean is you have to find the right combination that you provide services to, while they find the right combination that you provide product or services to develop the right audiences that you can they continue to service, that you can grow with, that you can become sustainable with. That was the point that we started with sustainability. So right off the bat, number one, there's no actual thing as competition. There are people that do what you do. There are people that are competing for the same dollar, the same attention, the same space that you are. But what you're really competing with isn't them. You're competing with yourself. You're competing with yourself to, number one, not be complacent, lazy, soft, etc. Number two, to always push yourself forward, to always improve, to always grow, develop, etc. In fact, I have a little acronym for it. It's GILF. And for those of you who are thinking of something else right now, it is not that. Dirty-minded little people. GILF. Grow, improve, listen, focus. The competition is you versus you. It's not you versus anyone else or external ideas, but it is grow, improve, listen, and focus. I'm going to break all of those down for you quickly and then move on to the second part of it's not you versus them when it comes to competition. So number one, of course, is grow. Every business and every professional, every human being essentially needs to continually grow, continually develop themselves better. Be a better person, a better professional, better at your job, a better organization, better structure, better systems, a better boss, etc. Every single day by growing. You grow by taking what you've learned from the day before and the day before that and every single day before that, and continually pushing yourself to be better every time. A new, better version is growth. Now, businesses that aren't growing are automatically failing. You might say to yourself, but why am I maybe maintaining status quo? Status quo is a slow slide backwards. You can move backwards or you can move forward. Growth is moving forward. So if you're competing with yourself, if your focus is to grow your skill sets, your experiences, your ability to do better, and not focused on how do I beat the other guy, how do I beat my competitors, but how do I grow myself, if your focus is there internally, then you have control of the process, you have the ability to do so, and you can get better every single day. Getting better every single day is a better, larger, more impressive potential for opportunity to actually be successful, as opposed to just simply beating the other guy. Because when the other guy goes away, when the other guy becomes not your competition, what have you actually established? So growth is essential and important. Remember that. Along with growth, you have to improve. And it sounds like grow and improve are the same thing, but not always the case. Growth can be introspective. Growth can be developing your mind and systems and things that are behind the scenes or before action happens. Improvement is in the action. So you might learn a lesson today, and tomorrow you will grow from applying that lesson. That application of the lesson is the improvement. It's not enough to learn a lesson. It's not enough to gain an insight. It's not enough to know more than you did yesterday, which is growth. But then you have to put it into action. That is improvement. That is making things better. So focus on growth, what you can learn, then focus on improvement, how you apply it to the real world, whether it's to your business, to your career, to yourself, your leadership style, etc. Grow, improve. You do these things by listening. The L is for listen. There is so much information in the world. There is so much potential. The roadmap to success, the how you grow your business, how you develop your audience, how you become more successful day after day after day comes from listening. So as much as you have to take action and do things, you have to grow and learn, you have to implement or improve. And you do that by listening. Don't make your mind up that the approach you're taking is perfect, that you know better than anyone else, that you have all of the answers. And even if you do, the question will change. So by listening, by being focused on listening and learning from that, that's where your growth comes from as a business, as a leader, as someone in charge of the process. Listening is a highly valuable tool. You must do it. And with all of this, again, I've said this a few times, but the F is focus. Focus on growth, focus on improvement, focus on listening, and focus on your business, on making your business, your offering, your relationship with your audience better. Don't worry about the competition. Don't worry about the other guy. Don't worry about anything else happening. Focus on you, on your systems, your processes, your businesses, your relationships, your client, your customer service, your product or service. If you focus on these things, then success comes with it. It will happen for you if you're doing these things. So competition is not the problem. You're not competing with others. You're competing with yourself. How do you stay motivated to do that? Well, that's where the competition comes in. That's where the competition is actually a beneficial tool. Competing, or the drive to compete, comes from the competition. The pressure that you receive from the outside, the pressure and the push from your competitors will drive you to continue to grow, improve, listen, and focus. You do that by understanding there is competition, understanding there are other options for your consumer, for your audience, and that you have to continually improve in order to gain and keep that audience. So to do that is by understanding the pressure that comes from your competition. The competition will drive you to compete better. The best way to take advantage of your best situation comes from competition. The competition is doing what they do. They're focused on their audience and their offering. You're focused on your audience and your offering. If you focus on the consumer most likely to do business the way you are offering to do business with them, your most likely consumer, as opposed to who is my competition getting, who's buying from my competitors, who's going to my competitors. Instead, focus on who is most likely to do business with me, who's most likely to appreciate the offering I have, who's most likely to repeat their business with me, who's most likely to become a loyal customer and potentially a brand ambassador. If you focus there, if you go to the most direct path of your best consumer, your best buyer, the person most likely to, not just buy once, but repeatedly, sustainably, and become someone who refers you and creates additional opportunities for you in that way, you have the opportunity to win if you go directly, as opposed to trying to compete with everyone who you might label as a competitor. So forget about the competition. Focus solely on your audience, on the people you most likely to serve, do a good job with, and repeatable, sustainable business. Focus on that core audience. Focus equals success. Learn from the process. We said earlier about listen. Listening is how you learn. Even though you're focused on your core audience, you're focused on your most likely consumer, you still have to adjust the actual tactics, the actual execution. And sometimes it's because your audience changes. Sometimes it's because other competitors have entered the market and offered them some different. Sometimes the whole world changes. COVID-19 is a great example of that. And so technology, laws, etc., all things change. Nothing stays static. You always have to be moving forward. You always have to be developing. You do that by listening and being focused on your process, and then return what you've learned. Just because you listen doesn't mean you've improved. Return what you have learned to the process. Listen, return it, grow by developing it, improve by implementing it, continue to listen, and do it over and over and over again. That is how you do it, by focusing on how you relate to your consumer, how you deliver to your most likely audience, and having little to no concern about what your competitors are doing, other people in the market, other people who are potentially competing with you, not worrying about your competitor, worrying solely about your consumer, who you're delivering to, how to develop them and repeat business with them is much more focused and much better energy than trying to figure out what your competitor's doing, trying to outmaneuver your competitors, trying to beat your competitors is a waste of time. Focus on your audience, the people who actually pay you money for your product or service, the people who are going to repeat that business, the people who are going to become someone who will give references and referrals for you. Focus on them. Do not worry about the competition. Return what you have learned from that. And finally, the final point here is that you must, once you're focused, once you've developed who your audience is, once you know who you're selling to, of course you want to continue to to expand and grow that audience. The way you do that, though, is not by jumping all over the place to who's someone else who might be interested in my product or service, the way I deliver it, etc., but continuing to stay focused and starting with your core consumer, your core audience, not spiraling out of control, but simply moving from that center point out 1 degree at a time. The group of people you've identified as your primary. It's someone you sell to, it's your competitor, or your consumer for your product or service for your business. It is your boss. It is the person that you are having to create a relationship with in order to achieve the goals you're trying to set for yourself. Whatever those things are, you don't get the next consumer, you don't get the next influencer by going randomly different just to see what happens, but by taking that persona of who you're addressing, who you're marketing to, who you've broken through to, who you've repeated with, and going 1 degree off center every single time. Continue to stay focused. That's why the GILF, F is for focus, is super important. So going back to that idea, focus, 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 grow, improve, listen, and focus. If you do those things, don't worry about the competitors. Don't worry about competition. Continually be right in the GILF pocket of who your audience is. Grow, improve, listen, and focus. The GILF acronym, if you will, is super important. Not worrying about the competition if you are growing, improving, listening, and focused on you and your audience, your core consumer, your core influencer, your core stakeholder, then you don't have to worry what a competitor is doing, what the competition is doing, what anyone else is doing, even things in the market, if you stay focused in the right place. So back to where we started. It isn't you versus the competition. It isn't even you versus the world. It's not you versus everybody else. It's you versus you. Continual improvement will have the best opportunity for potential sustainable success. Thank you for tuning in to the Saturday Morning Hustle podcast. Again, this week, it's Saturday. I'm in the office, and we're outworking the competition while they still sleep. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe. Leave a comment below. Follow on social media. Use the hashtag Saturday Morning Hustle. And, of course, you could check out SaturdayMorningHustle.com as well for all of the posts, all of the podcasts, and get yourself some swag, too. Appreciate you guys tuning in each and every Saturday. See you next week.
Saturday Morning Hustle. Saturday Morning Hustle.